Hey, good morning. So I told y'all I'm gonna give y'all a message, and I think I'm gonna start doing messages on Monday. Message Monday, I like that because beginning of the week, somebody might need to hear something good. So I want to talk about being chosen. So I believe that everybody in this earth, even bad people, we all have spiritual gifts or spiritual talent. But I do believe only certain people will be considered chosen, and you're chosen because you are the one that's going to walk in your calling. That's how I feel. So, ways to know that you're chosen. Usually it starts as a child. I feel like me as a kid, I had an imaginary friend. Her name was Kathy. So if your kids got imaginary friends, don't be laughing, calling them crazy or weird. No, that means your child is special. Their imagination is big. Their mind is overall unique, So don't shun your kids for that. That's a very special thing if your kids are. And another thing I noticed with me was numbers. As a kid in school, I was always assigned number 22, calculator number 22, laptop number 22. Everything was always 22. As from elementary school all the way growing up till I was, even now, everything's always 22. Even when I go out and look, 22. So I started looking up that number when I was younger, and it said it's a power number or whatever. Like, 22 is a master power number, blah, 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 whatever. So cool. But at the time, I wasn't into my calling yet. So I didn't start walking into my calling really until Nipsey Hussle died. When I looked him up and see who he was, what he was doing with Dr. Sabi and all that stuff, I was really intrigued by it. So one day I end up, reading about my number 22 again, about how powerful it was. And when I was reading up about it, it was like you have good manifestation. You can manifest anything you want. You have the power to do anything. So I was at work. I'll never forget this day. And I'm sitting there reading about number 22. So I'm like, so God, you telling me I'm this powerful. You telling me I can do anything. You telling me my mind, I'm master number 22. All right. So it was a pocketbook sitting on a chair. I'm at work. I'm sitting in the living room. I worked at a group home. There's a pocketbook sitting on the chair. So I'm like, okay, if I'm this powerful, make that pocketbook move. Make it move. Make it move. So I'm sitting there talking to myself, looking at the pocketbook on the chair right across from me. Make it move. So one of my coworkers walk into work, Mama Nettie. She comes in and she grabs the pocketbook off the chair and she goes, this is where I'm going to be sitting. I don't know why people always putting their stuff where I sit. And she put the pocketbook somewhere else. And Spirit said, it's may not how you pictured it, but I got it done. I promise y'all, I started crying like, yo, this is really real. It's real. Even now I'm about to cry because that story it's just, I don't know. It's a lot. But so after that, I'm like, all right, what I got to do? What I got to do to prove to you that I'm ready to walk in your light? So I read up, sometimes you got to sacrifice things. So I decided to stop eating pork and stop eating beef. I haven't ate pork or beef since 2019. I usually do chicken, fish, and shrimp. Eventually, I'm going to get rid of chicken, too. That's what I told myself. Eventually, that's what I'm going to do. And even with my pregnancy now, I throw up a lot. But I realize because I'm on a different type of path. So I'm carrying a special baby. So I can't be who I used to be with this baby. But anywho, so that was my first experience with deciding to walk into my light. But before then, I always had special gifts. Like, I can also feel death. Like, I can feel it. I can sense it. And it scares me. Even my mom will tell you, all my friends will tell you. So with the death thing, I'm not going to say I'm afraid of it. I mean, where I'm going now, I'm getting better with it. But when I experienced it younger, it used to scare me because the feeling is overbearing. And I'll never forget, 2014, I had one of my friends' boyfriend passed away. And a week before he passed away, we were in a car. And I started having anxiety. I'm like, let me out this car. Let me out this car. And my friend like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, no, let's let me out this car. I'm crying. They let me out on the side of the road. And I had my Auntie E come and get me. And I was crying. I called my mom. And I'm like, he's going to die. And my mom was like, well, Quanisha, just pray about it. A week later, he died in that car, in a car accident. Oh, that made me feel weird, too. And the feeling of it was, like, so dark when I was sitting in his backseat of his car. And the feeling of it was like so dark. It was just like I was sitting next to his death angel. So, that was something I had an experience with that I took pretty bad, whatever. Life goes on. So, I used to ask God to help me with that. Sometimes I don't want to know spirit. I don't want to know, so I avoided it. But now I'm getting better. My grandmother died in 2018. And when she died, I was very angry because we found out she had cancer in February and she died in September. So I was angry. I was angry because I didn't understand how you get cancers like that and just die so quick. Usually people live longer, like we just found out. So how you just pass? I was angry. And when she was dying, all she cared about was my grandfather. All she talked about was my grandfather. And I was angry about that too. Like, you're sick. Why do you want to talk about a man? How about we talk about getting better, So again, when she passed, I was angry. But I'll never forget the day she passed. I'm in my car. I'm sitting with one of my friends. She on the side of me. And I just started crying. And I'm like, my grandmother coming to me. She was like, what do you mean? I'm like, she answering all my questions. My grandmother told me that she been dying. She been dying for a while. She just kept it from us until she couldn't hide it no more. And that's why she divided her time. She stayed at my mom's house for 3 months. She stayed at my aunt's house for 3 months. She divided her time between all of us. And she told me the reason why she talked about my grandfather so much because they was married for 40-something years. And she never told him she was sick. And she felt she didn't have to because he should have felt her. If we was connected how we were supposed to be, you should have felt me. But she realized when she crossed over, he did. And his way was to avoid her. So that freed me from being upset, So that was one less thing off my back. And she also told me that everybody who she passed in the room with was for a reason. And that it will play a special moment in your life later. So that was my second experience. But again, I started to avoid it because it was overbearing. I don't want to know. But now where I'm going, I'm getting better. And that's why I don't hang out with certain people no more. That's why I move different and I'm more to myself because I know with that type of gift, you really got to have nothing but pure energy around you. You just can't surround yourself with all types of people because you can attract certain things. And I don't want to attract bad things to my life. I don't want to attract that. So I need my energy as pure as possible. But that's my message on today. So if you're chosen, learn to walk in your light. Ask God to bear with you inch by inch.